I loved so many gay guys, and not once, not twice, but 3 different times. Another guy who I didn't think was gay being like, look who I saw on Tinder. And I was like, no, 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 no. It must be that glitch. Jake, no, 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 no. I'm Haley Griswold.
And I'm Jake Deaton.
And this is The Lost Four.
You never told me that.
Happy April Fool's Day, motherfuckers.
We wanted to do a really special episode.
Because in honor of April Fools, we want to get foolish.
And talk about all the times that we may have played the fool.
When we were on
Dating
Tinder.
apps.
Oh, when we were on dating
Tinder.
apps. when we were on Tinder.
And Grindr. How did you first, did you know about dating apps in high school?
Yes.
That to me is crazy because I did not, except, those kind of websites that we got ads for when we were kids.
Like
and
eHarmony.
Exactly, Plenty of Fish. We sort of had Christian Mingle, but we just called it Sunday School.
Christian Mingle, but we just called it Sunday School. Let me give you your flowers for that.
When I got to NYU, I remember maybe that first day, it was like welcome week and you're meeting people. I had a list on my phone. I was like, Google these when you get home. Sushi. Avocado. Tinder.
That's so funny.
I literally country bumpkin. And so I downloaded it and I was like, oh, this looks fun. I had Instagram. Importantly, all my first dating app experiences were with women because I was still in the closet. And I was so deep in the closet when I tell you, I was in Narnia, beyond. Part of me knew that I was gay, but I just wanted to be straight so badly, and I was so determined that it would get better. So I downloaded it, and I was like, women, that's who I want to date. And I would talk to people sometimes, but I never made plans to meet with anyone. I most often didn't respond at all, but I wanted to match because I was like, so what do you think about me? Of course. I didn't intend to date them.
Half the reason you're on there is just to
Validation.
Confirm that when I'm walking on the street, people aren't thinking she's an ugly hag.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Way more than actually trying to find love, right?
I remember during this time, I was coming up, I was starting to be well, puberty's probably wrapping up. We're 18. Don't know if this attraction to men thing is going to go away. So most people I think are at that point, even if they're not going to tell others about it, they might act on it privately. I could have been on gay Tinder and no one would have known. I was 10 toes down. I was Lady Gaga up in here acting in
Wow.
House of Gucci. I was Lady Gaga up in here acting in House of Gucci.
Not
I was
even A Star Is Born.
method acting. I'm straight. And so I was talking to the girls and I was coming up with plans. I was one day you're going to have to go on a date. And these are not the girls at home who are wearing purity rings. They're going to want to probably do the hanky-panky. And so I made a plan to steal my grandpa's, which I didn't even know that he had for sure. But I was my grandpa probably has some Viagra. And I was going to raid his medicine cabinet when I went home. And then I was then I can go on a date with a girl just in case.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm. I remember I have a vivid memory, which I've been told I say quite a bit on this podcast.
Yeah, let me know if you guys have noticed. I'm going to start doing a vivid memory count each episode.
But I have a vivid memory laying in my freshman year dorm in bed, staring at the ceiling, being where do you think he hides it? I could find it. And thinking that would solve all my problems. And then I could start actually meeting some of these girls that I was talking to on Tinder.
Do you remember when you decided to finally pursue men on a dating app? And also, do you remember if your bio was different for women versus men? Yeah, for women, it was just not gay. Was in the bio.
I think for women, my bio was just NYU. Remember, that was a thing. It was you put where you went to college, basically. Yeah. It definitely got gayer when I have it. I have it. I have screenshots of my old profile.
That you would be willing to put on the screen
of
for
course.
Anyone who...
Throw it up. Let's read the bio together.
Let's read it.
All right, I've got a couple. I'm looking at these old pictures. It's so embarrassing. So it still says NYU at the top, but that's used to be where it ends. I added on some more. Actor, singer, aspiring French speaker. I follow back on Instagram, kiss. And then the other, actor, singer, aspiring French speaker. Clearly, those were very important qualities to me. I met Gus Kenworthy and Adam Rippon within 7 days of each other, so I know how to turn dreams into reality. Do you know who these people are? One is a gay figure skater. Adam Rippon from the Olympics. I hope I'm saying that right. And Gus Kenworthy is a gay skier and a hunk of man. Can we get an image of Gus on the screen, please? I did. I went to 2 different events where I met these very sexy, hot gay Olympians. And let's just say I know how to turn dreams into reality. I'm not going to confirm or deny. Gus and I may have had a little fling.
It's very funny that you won't confirm or deny, but put it in your bio on Tinder. My bio was like, I just remember.
Open to 3 ways.
Mine was sort of like yours, very short, sort of mysterious. And it's only in hindsight, right, that the embarrassment really sets in. Because I thought mine was like, I'm cute, I'm quirky, I'm letting my personality show in just 2 words, watching TV, which is like still my bio on everything now.
I actually think that's kind of cute and funny and quirky.
Except that we were going on these dates in the height of like Netflix and chill era. So watching TV sounds like
Little double meaning.
Come over and book me. Like it's so embarrassing now.
And that was purposeful. When did you make the jump to going on a date from Tinder?
All right, this is my first Tinder experience. Was I matched with a guy who was set to be a Major League Baseball player.
My pants would already be down.
And he went to NYU. I was 19, about to turn 20. He was like 23 or 24, older man.
Now the underwear's down.
And he was a super, super senior, so he's stupid, which makes him hotter. And we matched, and it was one of those things where I was trying to hang out with him. Like, I am a product of watching shows like One Tree Hill and Friday Night Lights.
This is it.
I want to date someone who does sports.
Yeah.
Sue me. I'm a girl who had a couple Carrie Underwood songs that meant something to me. Yeah. I want to be with somebody who wears hats and loves their dad a lot, okay? And so...
Has a bicep.
Yeah, a big one. And so I went out with him, and our favorite ice cream place in New York, Sundays and Cones. That was my date spot. Okay, because here's the thing.
Date spot.
Sundays and Cones is the best ice cream in New York City, right? Uh-huh. Hands down. Like, I will eat that during a blizzard.
And it's sort of like in and out. Like, if your date's going badly, you can just axe it. If it's going well, walk
and it's
to
near
Washington Square Park.
NYU, so it's super quick. And the thing is, it's expensive for ice cream, but a cheap date overall.
Yeah.
So I would...
Actually, good game.
I had so many dates there. And then one time, this guy who had been ghosting me, not hanging out with me, I saw him there with another girl. I was so hurt. I was so sad. And I was also with someone else as well. But this was one of those things where we were just like back and forth, back and forth. He was not into me. He was not into me.
But you saw him multiple times, didn't you?
Yeah, of course. But it was like for months of begging for those multiple times. That is not...
Was he hot?
He was hot. And I just remembered that it was one of those situations where he would not hang out with me. He would like... unless it was
but
like...
sometimes that makes it hotter.
It was, yeah, whenever you're like
forbidden fruit.
And you're full of rage and you're like,
Yeah.
I am done.
Want me.
Want me. You know what? Actually, don't want me. I'm done with you. And then that 2 a.m. text calls, and actually, I do happen to be up.
Oh, I'm so... For anyone just listening, my rear ends may have just left the couch and pointed in the air.
Mine only did that on this date. Joking. But
I remember you had like 10 purity rings when we went to college.
I was kind of like actually a huge prude when we went to college. So that was my very first one. And the thing is, once you start, it does kind of become addicting.
Oh, it's a game.
It's a game.
And like you said, the validation, like nothing made me feel more desirable. Nothing made me, like getting a match, especially when it was like a hot person that you wanted to match with. And it's like, it's a match. And I was like, oh, so I guess I'm a hot person.
But then the worst was whenever you decided, like, I'm off Tinder. I'm going to find my soulmate. The universe has something more beautiful planned for me. I'm going to have a meet cute on the streets of New York City. And a couple of months of being worn down by the streets of New York City, you're
crawling back.
You crawl back, and it's the same batch of just unlovable losers still on there. And you're just like, man, maybe we should all just get a house, live together. I mean, none of us can find anyone. What about you? Do you remember your first Tinder date?
Yeah, so I never went out with a girl on Tinder. I did date girls in college, but they were all girls I knew in real life who I loved, that were all my closest friends, that like I was just like, I don't know how else to define our relationship besides dating. One day.
Can I ask one question that's sort of off topic?
Yeah.
When you dated women, were you like an awesome boyfriend? Did you pay for
Yes,
everything?
of course.
Like you're a
I
door
took them to
holding
the
guy?
top of the rock. I like took them to fancy dinners. The one sex act that I was like consistently available for is the one that I hear women probably like the best.
That's so funny. Like when you came out, those girls were like, "What do you mean?" No, you love me.
I mean, I think everyone knew to some degree. Obviously, you knew, but it's like at NYU, it's kind of hard to tell.
Oh,
Like,
especially in theater.
yeah. Oh my God, you get guys that.
Especially because any guy who's cute, and you are so cute. If you're saying you're straight and
Latch
you're
on.
a cute guy in theater,
There are two of those at NYU.
there are two.
And so I did feel like I sort of had a good pick, and I'm still such good friends with all the girls I dated, but none of them from Tinder. I literally just got up in bed one morning and I switched my settings on Tinder from women to men. And I remember within 6 hours, one of our mutual friends texted me and said, "My Tinder's glitching. I see you on my feed." Gay man. And I remember being like, because at this point I had committed to this straight bit so hard.
Yeah.
And like people had asked me if I was sure. I was like 10 toes down. I was like, I am a straight man.
Yes.
And he literally texted me and was like, "Oh, my Tinder's like glitching. Why are you on my feed?" And I was like, fuck, people are gonna like find out about this. And I remember I texted him back and I was like, haha, that's so funny. Like definitely didn't change my settings. But I continued to swipe. And then I swiped right on someone I knew in real life. And so that was sort of my kind of like, I could do this a little more easily.
Yeah.
Because I loosely knew him like a friend of a friend. I invited him over and I think we went on a walk. Like I didn't invite him to like come spend time in my room.
How well did you know him? I'm sorry, I'm asking so many
Not
detailed
well at
questions.
all. Not well at all.
But you
Friend of
just
a friend.
recognized him.
Yeah, we've
okay.
met.
Oh, right, you said
Like,
that. Friend of
we
a friend.
talked. But he was so sexy and I was so bad to him because like this is the first time I had ever acknowledged that I was gay ever. And so like I think he was expecting me to actually want to go on dates, but the mania that was occurring inside my head at this point, you can imagine, it was like
Yes.
crazy. But to him, I was like just seeming normal and chill. And so we went on a walk, and then I did bring him back to my room where my roommate was. My roommate was also named Jake. So we were Jake 1 and Jake A because our roommates didn't want to discriminate against us. So we didn't want a B or a 2. And I was Jake A. And he was in the room. And Jake is such a funny, like unmovable person. Like nothing phases him. I had never talked to him about being gay. I had never talked to him about my sexuality. I dated one of our mutual friends who is still one of my best friends. And like that's the only version of me that Jake had ever known. And so I brought this guy back to my room and I was like, "Well, this is Mark, Jake." And Jake was like, "Cool." And he was playing his PlayStation and Mark and I got up in my bed, which was like, lofted, and started making out while roommate Jake was playing the PlayStation, and he didn't leave. He just stayed and kept playing his game, and we were making out in the bed. And then the guy left, and he was like, "So are you gay now?"
We are loving making this podcast and having such a blast. We thank you so much for listening, for liking and commenting, for sharing the pod, rating and reviewing us on Apple and Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast, and following us on Instagram and TikTok. But
We would love it if you swiped right on our Patreon.
on our Patreon, we have exclusive content, including some discussions and readings of our favorite fanfic, My Mom Sold Me to One Direction. And you can get full video episodes over on Patreon as well.
You even have the opportunity to share with us some of your lore. You know that we are dying to hear those Tinder stories, and who knows, it might make it on the episode. We'll always swipe right on you, baby.
Super like even.
Did you ever have a serious relationship that culminated from a dating app?
Never.
Really?
Never. Honestly, the bulk of my Tinder dates were just trauma dumps. It was like, we're going to go on one date. We both seriously are probably going through something. And the others who replied, we got together and we've decided to, me was like bitching about college and acting school. These
Him who was bitching about his wife and his children and their 50s, his midlife crisis.
I never ever had a long-term relationship from a dating app. There was one time that I thought it could maybe go there. I had matched with this guy. I really liked him, and it was over Thanksgiving break my sophomore year. I didn't go home, and so I was in my dorm room alone for a week, and he and I were texting a lot. We were talking on the phone. I thought he was so nice. He was really cute, had nice hair, nice face, and then he was like, oh, I'll come over and we can hang out at your dorm. And I just got this vibe that like he wasn't coming over to watch TV. He was coming over to talk to me. And so I was so excited. And I remember, I wasn't with my family for Thanksgiving. So I was like, oh, well, at least I'll be falling in love. And so when he arrived at my dorm, I went downstairs to get him. And I will never forget that when I went in to hug him, I, at 5'0", could see clear over his head. It was one of these brutal things. He was so nice. He was so cute in the face. He was even fit.
Did he bring him up?
So he came upstairs. I can't over-explain enough that this is probably the nicest person I have ever gone on a date with.
God.
Like, absolutely.
I feel bad
definition
for him.
of a gentleman, right? And it was one of those things where I was racking my brain, like, please just say something, do something weird, say something misogynistic. Please, I'm begging you, be racist. Like, I wanted him to be a piece of shit, but he was literally so nice. So it was one of those classic things. I'm 19 and I realized it's going to have to be a major, it's not you, it's me. And I just started crying about my high school boyfriend. Oh, and I mean for a while. I was crying. So he left. And even then, you could tell he was still like, but maybe you'll get over it. And I was like, no, probably never going to get over it.
I actually feel so bad
I
for
felt
him.
horrible. Then, 2 years ago, I was on the train going home from a long-ass shift as a server, which if you've ever served, you know that's hell on earth. And I was on the train and I was crying because that's what serving will do. It'll break you down. Not that I have ever had a problem crying in public before. And I'm crying on the train, just letting it all go. And I look up and as I'm sitting at my eye level, this guy. And I see him. We lock eyes. And I just think.
And he was like, damn, she's still thinking about that
boyfriend. I was going to say. He's like, she is not over it. He probably saw me and was like, I dodged the biggest, craziest, most emotional bullet of my entire life.
Which is still true.
Oh, totally true. But that is probably like the closest I've ever come to not dating somebody on Tinder.
That makes me feel so bad for him.
Since you feel so bad for him, I have to tell you one where you're going to feel bad for me.
Okay.
My last date before Davis and I got together was a Tinder date. And Davis and I, just a little context, were best friends. And I was living in New York and he was living in North Carolina. And we were madly in love. But we were in our early 20s and we were just like not jumping into a long distance
Should we give even more context? I feel like now we're enough episodes in. Davis and I knew each other from childhood.
Davis and Jake were high school buddies.
Yeah.
Jake and I were college buddies. And Jake introduced us.
And now we're all adult buddies.
And now we're all best friends. And yeah, so we played cat and mouse. We didn't want to commit. And so it was one of those things where we were talking constantly as though we were dating, but when we would talk on the phone, it was about the other people we were dating
going on,
and stuff. Yeah. So it was my last date, and I remember it was a guy who went to NYU, and he was a little shorter than my type, but taller than the last guy. Super nice. We talked on the phone. He seemed really nice, normal. Like we made a plan.
You talked to him on the phone before you met him in person?
Sometimes I was sort of
That's kind of smart.
I was kind of like, if we messaged long enough, I was a little bit like, it feels weird to message for so long and then meet in person.
I actually think that's a really great
So I would do a
idea.
little like in between on the phone. So we talked on the phone. He was super nice. I was excited to hang out with him. So excited I didn't even schedule it for the ice cream shop. We were going to have dinner. And I met him there. And I was like looking around, scanning the room, like I didn't see him. And then right as I'm about to turn to leave, I hear, hey we, over heel.
Stop.
He said, hey Lee on the phone. There was no hey we on the phone. Because he had a full-blown speech impediment. And that is fine. But we talked on the phone before. Who I talked to on the phone was not
the same person?
Not the voice, not the same voice.
But he looked like the guy from the app?
It was the same guy from
So he was like voice fishing you.
I walked over.
That's creepy.
It's creepy. I walk over, we sit down. I remember he ordered like a blueberry muffin, and I'll never forget, a little ASMR for you folks. Take your AirPods out now. As he was eating this muffin, I'll never forget, he went.
Whose muffin was he eating?
He never, ever.
Let me eat your muffin, hey wee. Let me eat your muffin. Your muffin is so delicious.
Ew.
I can say that. I graduated from speech therapy in 4th grade. I have a certificate. I couldn't say R. Rapunzel. Let down your hair. That's how I talked.
Aw. See, but it's cute because you were 8. I remember he walked me home and man, he wanted to give me a kiss. He and that lispy mouth wanted to kiss me so bad. And I was like, I did not. I said goodbye. And I went upstairs and I called Davis and I said, let's fucking do this thing. And that pushed me.
That's history.
Yeah, that is how we ended up kind of, I was like, I would rather go through the misery of a long distance relationship than the misery of hoping I find someone nearby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So do you have any weird nightmarish ones like that?
Oh, yeah. I would be remiss to not talk about the gay dating app a little more on a dating app episode. So one funny thing about Grindr is that you can actually see whether or not someone is close to you. And it tells you exactly. And I don't know if it even still does this, but like back in the day. And I remember that I had multiple instances of people who would be like, you look cute sipping your coffee over there. Oh, your butt looked nice going up the stairs in the subway. Like, and then once the worst, I was on a plane and someone messaged me, I'm on your plane. I blocked them, deleted the app. And I remember when we landed, they were like, I was at my final destination, but they were like, I got on the intercom and they were like, some people have connecting flights and they're really tight and they need to get off first. And I was like, me, I've got a connection. I've got a sprint.
Yes!
And I sprinted off that plane, a cold sweat for the entire 2-hour flight. Like, it was awful.
Yes.
I really feel if they haven't already removed that feature, I feel that they should because it's like dangerous.
Yes,
like,
that is so scary. I don't even know what to say.
And another like kind of memorable online date was also with someone who I knew, friend of a friend. The good thing about gay dating at NYU is it's always going to be a friend of a friend because there's no lack of choice. So I went on this date and somebody that I had been eyeing from afar, like on social media, and we matched, and then he messaged me, I think, and I felt like such hot shit. I was so happy that he was into me. He was like really, really fit. And I went over to his place and, you know, things were a little steamy. And I remember hearing a knock at the door, which, you know, everyone has roommates, so it's like not a huge deal. Tell me why this man didn't share with me that they were looking for a new roommate who wanted to tour the entire apartment because they were filling his room, the guy who I was hooking up with. And so he was the one leaving. And so not
they
only
needed to
they
see
needed
the room
to see
you
the
were
room
in.
that I was in. Without
with other
clothes.
things in. Oh. Sorry.
But I had maybe 15 seconds before they came to the bedroom where I was engaged in biblical, maybe not so biblical relations. And this is the only time in my life where I literally hid in the closet, like behind clothes, completely naked, like just making myself as small as possible, listening to these people walk through the room without the guy that I was hooking up with because he left. He was like, I'll give you some privacy. So they could look around the room.
And you were in the closet?
And of course they opened the closet.
That is
because they wanted to see inside it. But thank God there was enough
They just didn't look to the left?
That, imagine, if you had been in there and a person was in the closet naked, I would have freaked the fuck
Oh my
out.
God, yes.
That was, my heart was like... Immediately after the first guy that I went on a date with, I matched with another person that I knew in real life. So that was sort of like, at the beginning, I was like, I need to know them. Like, I need to feel a little safer. But loose connections. Like, no one who knew my friends. No one who could, like, you know, tell you that you gone on a date with me.
Yeah.
The second guy was someone who I, like, kind of worked with, but didn't know well. And this was the time when, let's say that there was another goal in mind when I went on this date. I was like, well, better check this once and for all.
Yeah, it's always best to have that goal with someone you work with. Jake, jeez.
Well, it gets so much worse.
Oh, good.
So I, at this point, had never done anything physically with a man, ever. No kiss, no nothing. I was like a complete novice. And I told him, I was like honest. I was like, you know, this is like very new for me. No one in my life knows. Like, in a weird way, it was also so liberating to be doing something that no one in my life knew that I was doing. You know what I mean? Like, have you ever felt that before? It's just like, I am mysterious.
Yes.
Like, I've got stuff going on. People don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
People don't know where I am.
You don't know what I'm up to.
And so I was...
Which is, it's funny, like, as you say it now, like, there's an electricity. I'm like, yeah, what a feeling.
It's
exciting. But then I, like, pull out and my older brain is like,
Danger,
someone should kind
danger,
of always know where
danger.
you are.
Yeah.
One person should know
Should
where
always know.
where you're at and what you're doing.
And truly, no one knew.
That's a life rule.
Yes.
Seriously.
Yes.
Like, if you're dating, still, I don't care if you're 40 listening
Find a
to
trusted
this.
person.
One person, leave us a comment and say, I'm going on a date right now. Let's make sure someone knows where you're at
DM
all
Haley.
time. Just send me a DM and say, Haley, I'm about to get my back blown out in Brooklyn.
Here are the coordinates.
Exactly.
But no one knew where I was. No one knew what I was doing. I vaguely knew this person, and he went to NYU. So I felt there was enough familiarity that I didn't feel freaked out. He was having to walk me through it. I was like, I've never done any of this. And I was like, so should we like use protection? Like at this point, the only sex ed I'd had about gay sex was like fearing for my life, being like, you're going to get AIDS and die. And which is not true. It's like a completely manageable condition. Like it's just like my little Southern upbringing that I was like so freaked out by it. And he was like, no, we don't need to do that. I'm on PrEP, which I had never heard of.
That's also one I never heard of until you told me what it was.
We had a great night together. I had a great time. I was like definitely gay. But the next morning I woke up staring at the ceiling, eyes as wide as saucers, covers at my face in a little twin NYU bed. Like this is in a dorm. And I was like, I need to get my affairs in order. I need to make the will. I need to know what will happen to my Wicked poster. Wicked poster, by the way, straight. but I literally was like, I need to figure out something. I definitely have HIV.
Okay. This is an ignorant question, but being on PrEP.
People take it to prevent an HIV spread, but I do believe that people who have HIV also take it to suppress it in their immune system.
Gotcha.
So but he did not have HIV. He was taking it to prevent himself from getting
But because
HIV.
he was on it, is that why you woke up with the saucer eyes convinced that you
No,
needed...
I just thought because I had gay sex.
Which is sad.
I know. It's very sad.
That's sad.
But I woke up and I literally was like, I've got to get to an urgent care. And I was Googling things frantically. And I discovered that if you were exposed to HIV, that you could take a post-exposure prophylaxis, PEP, not PrEP. That's pre-exposure prophylaxis. Post-exposure, if you take it within a certain time window, even if the virus is in your system, it will kill it. Because it's like...
It's plan B for gay people.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. But wait till you hear about this pill. So it's like a horse pill. And I was like, this is a miracle. Like I've got my second chance. Thank you, Lord. I'm straight again. And
I'll go back to eating coochie.
Hallelujah.
I can't wait for coochie dinner.
But I was like, I've got to go get this prescribed. And there was an urgent care. I was in Union Square area. And I was like, I can just go to the Union Square urgent care and I can go get this prescription and then I will feel better. And so I went there and I had to tell a nurse what I had done. And this is someone who has never come out to anyone, even to the person that I just spent the night with. I never said the words I'm gay or like described being gay. And so I had to tell the nurse what I had done. And the nurse literally was like, were you giving or receiving? I was probably beet red, just like so ashamed. Like it was the worst interaction ever. And I got through it and I was like, all right, I've lived so many lives in my one day of being gay. And now I'm going to go fill the prescription at CVS. And this is such like a moment in my life. This is beyond a vivid memory. This is like one of the most important memories of my entire life.
Like you close your eyes, you're there.
Yes.
Okay.
CVS in Union Square, up at the top of Union Square. And I go have the prescription filled and I'm still feeling embarrassed because I'm like, the pharmacist knows what's up. And she asked me, do you want to know how much it costs? And I was like, I have insurance. Like what could it be? Like $50, which would have been a lot for a college student. And I was like, okay. She wrote it down on a piece of paper, turned it over and slid it to me like we were in like an old mafia movie. I flipped it over and it was $1,300. And I literally looked at her and I was like, I need to go make a call before I pay for this. Like very, very dead. Like just, you know, like no emotion. Like I was like, do you mind if I go make a call? And she was like, sure, no problem. I went outside and I was like, I'm going to have to call my mom. I have an emergency credit card. And it's not like that. It's not, I hear the clickety clack of your typing. I did not use this ever. This was the first time in 3 years of being at NYU that I had even looked at this credit card. It was an emergency, like emergency only. And so I was like, this is an emergency and I need to call my mom and ask if I can use her credit card. And so I was like, I'm just going to call her. I'm just going to be calm. And I'm going to tell her, you know, I made a mistake. I think I may have been exposed to an STI and there's a medicine that will make sure that I don't get it. And it's really expensive and I'm so sorry. And I was like, I'm just going to be really frank with her, and she'll just think that it was a girl, and that the girl told me that she had an STI. And my mom was on her way to go watch a touring company of a Broadway production down in Charlotte. And I remember she answered the phone and was like, "Hello, sweetie." And I burst into tears. I was like, "Please don't be mad. I need to use the credit card." Like, just snot tears in Union Square. People watching me. This was the first time I'd ever cried in New York. And they say you're not a New Yorker until you cry on the street. Just like convulsing, could not breathe. And my mom was like, "Okay." Like, "Okay, sweetie." Like, she could tell this wasn't the time to be like, "You've been irresponsible." And so I went back in and I bought the medicine. And
she didn't ask questions?
None. And
Wow.
ally.
Yeah.
And that night though, she called me back and she was like, "Sweetie, I gotta ask you a question."
But she's such an amazing mom that she waited
is.
until
Until
later,
I calmed down.
and until you'd had
And I
the
had the
pill
medicine,
and
yeah.
you were settled and you were okay.
And she asked me then, she was like, "Was it a girl that you were hooking up with?" And I said no. And that's how I came out to my mom, and how I did not get in trouble for spending $1,300, because what was she gonna do at that point? Like, I came out to her and I told her how hard it had been for me. I gave her I laid it on a little thick, because I was like, I gotta come up with something fast.
You know, I'm the first to make fun of you, but I'm like, this was some pretty easy thickness to lay on. This is scary. Like, you're a young guy.
And imagine, none of my friends know that I'm gay. Like, I literally went from 0 to 90 because of my own decisions.
I know.
And I do want to say, I just want to add this because I don't want people to get anything twisted. As we said before, like, you can always say no. You can always wear a condom. Getting HIV is not a death sentence. Getting HIV is like so managed. I could like cry talking about this now because I just feel like such a different person. But it's like I was never at any risk, even when I had this crash out. And I crashed out just because of like these ideas that I had about gay people, basically, and like that it would be if that happened to me. And I wasn't at risk at all. Like, it was silly of me to go crash out and buy this medicine in the first place. But even if this happens to you and this ends up being your story, I know so many people that have HIV that completely manage it. It's undetectable. It doesn't affect their lives at all. This is not what it used to be. And I think that so many gay people share the experience of being just like having this crippling fear of this, because it was such a horrible thing that affected our community so deeply. But you can live an absolutely beautiful and full life with HIV, and I don't want to ever give anyone the impression that I feel otherwise when I tell this story.
Of course. I am actually really glad that you told that story and that we could give a little, I don't really feel that I did, but that you could give some education here. Really, because it's really important
That
knowledge.
is how our podcast is classified, educational.
Educational. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Talk about a diet. The pill that I took to cleanse my system of a virus that is given to you in such a dose that it will destroy the virus if it's in your system after exposure. I think I lost 15 pounds.
I called your mom and was like, "Do you have $1,300 more dollars?" I will brag on you just because you've been so vulnerable this episode and say that there was this one theater guy that was highly, highly coveted, and he was one of those who, you know, I and the other girlies were searching for him on these apps, and we could never ever find him.
He was hot. I mean,
he
like,
was hot.
what would you like? Movie star hot? Like,
I mean, and like, we won't say his name. What's a name? We'll say Timothy Chalamet.
Sure.
We called him
honestly, I would say that level of hot.
We called him Hot Timmy, and I just remember there was a party.
Can I tell it?
Yeah, I think you should tell it.
So, Hot Timmy was hosting the party and invited me, and I remember, you know what actually preceded the party?
What?
This just came back to me. I haven't thought about this in years. So, in acting school, we take a class called Voice and Speech. But in Voice and Speech, you use a cork. And the cork will like help you do like exercises in your mouth, like strengthen your tongue, your lips.
You put them between your teeth.
Yeah. And you're expected to have it every day. And so it's like a basic requirement of studio courses at NYU for our acting studio. 1 week before this party, Hot Timmy came up to... We're not friends. We had no connections. We'd never been in a group together. I don't think I'd ever said a word to him. Hot Timmy came up to me in a room full of people, other friends of his and was like, hey, I forgot my cork for voice and speech. Can I borrow yours? And I remember thinking, why the fuck is he asking me? That would be like me asking a complete stranger when I had multiple friends as
Right
options.
there.
So I think Hot Timmy wanted a little hot Jakey, and that did come to pass. So I was also invited to this party, which I was like, why is Hot Timmy invited me? I'm so clueless. Like, I literally am the most clueless person who's ever lived, and insecure. So I was like, he would never. And he invited me to this party, and I was like, we're not friends. Like, why is he must just think I'm cool. Like, yeah, he must think I'm chill. He asked for my cork. He's invited me to the party. I hope he did things with that cork. I hope that cork went other places, and then I hope he gave it back to me. And anyway, so I go to this party, and I remember we were all really, really drunk. Like, this was classic NYU artsy kids. Like, they're fun. It's crazy. And this is so far removed from our lives now. It's like unfathomable that we were ever doing anything like this.
Don't say we.
But I remember at this party, a person who we were both friends with was very drunk, and we were sitting on either side of him, kind of holding him up. And at this point, I don't know Hot Timmy from Adam. He's the host of this party. We've never talked. I had my arm around my friend, and he had his arm around his friend. And then I'm going to show it for the camera, but I'm also going to say what I'm doing for the audio listeners. So I feel a hand go down the back of my shirt and just like start touching my back. And it was Hot Timmy's hand. And I was like, what is going on? And like, I'd barely been out at this point too. I wasn't out to anyone at studio. And he was playing with my back. And I was like, that seems friendly, like overly friendly. And then he moved it down to my waistband, and I'm getting chills like telling this story. This man was so hot. Like, no,
he's hotter than Timothy Chalamet.
He is so hot. Like this, and I just remember thinking like, oh my God, I'm being chosen. Like, I was so thrilled and just like could not, because everyone in studio was lusting after him.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the girls were like, please for
lusting.
us, please
the
be
boys
for us.
Too.
I know.
And I remember I then was so overwhelmed because I still wasn't out. No one at this party knew that I was gay. And I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom. And so I got up. I stopped getting my little like back play, and I got to the bathroom, and then there was a knock on the door. I just knocked over my drink. There is a knock on the door of the bathroom. And it could have been anyone. It could have been anyone. It could have been someone who needed to pee, but it wasn't. It was Hot fucking Timmy.
It was somebody who needed you.
He like I cracked the door, and it was him. And he just like came in and immediately shut it behind him. And I don't kiss and tell. But
he tells up till the kiss. This has been fun.
Yeah, this has been really fun.
This has been really fun. I could see this when I'm making a part 2 return.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
Endless vat of content.
Because Hot Timmy was not even in the dating apps. That was just a let you brag one.
Oh, thanks.
And so we have plenty of other stories to tell in this vein. But in the meantime, we hope you have a wonderful April Fool's Day and act a little foolish.
Yeah, go seek out your own Hot Timmy.
Go do it.
I have faith in you. Thanks for tuning into The Lost Lore.
We'll see you next time.
The lost, 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 lost.